What I like about Baku regards, amongst many things, its architecture, because it is so varied from place to place.
Then you have the Soviet time Baku. Then I'm talking about 8. kilometer and then the microrayons in the north, right? With all these ugly buildings.
There are very little traces of these box-like buildings that you see in other countries of the former Soviet Union.
Then the third Baku is the new oil boom Baku. That's what you see, the new roads, new high-rises.
It's not like you go to northern countries where everything is spick and span and everything has to be very orderly. It's kind of orderly chaos or chaotic order. There's order in spite of all the non-monotonous design of buildings, the way how goods are displayed.
Baku architecture is something, a mixture of East and West.
You see the best of Europe and also the best of Asia, and it's combined in this culture and this environment and atmosphere in the food, in the architecture and the characters.
It's a very interesting set of contrasts. In general, East meets West in Azerbaijan.
For me, it's definitely Western. I mean, Western has a big scope of different cultures anyways, but I would definitely put Azerbaijan into the West.
But I would say that in general, that the older generation has more Eastern feeling to them and the younger generation has more Western. Most reasonable explanation, I think, is media exposure. The fact that young people have access to much more Western media than the older generation.
Now, if you go to rayons, for example, if you go to Sheki, if you go to Masallı, you would tend to think that this is an Eastern culture, an Eastern country. But if you sort of in downtown Baku, that has not only Eastern but more Western elements in it.
You immediately notice the huge difference between the oil-dominated capital and the oil fields around it and all the bustling and industry and activity around oil. And then as soon as you move away from it, Azerbaijan turns into a completely different country, very quiet, very laid back, still very natural. I had the feeling that outside Baku people live very close to nature, live a simple life, much simpler than in Baku.
Thus far I've been to 2 regions of the country. What I like both about Shamakha and Lankaran is how very different they are from Baku. And with that, the climate's different, obviously the air is better on the one side, people more approachable, just as they are in most countries in rural areas versus urban areas, but very pleasant. Both are different, beautiful actually, both were.
The people you see enjoying life actually seem to be outside this whole frenzy about making money and spending money. You see all these people in really, really big, expensive cars, very well dressed and having this sort of empty, stressed out look, and then you see people who apparently don't have a lot of money or have a lot less money who sit somewhere in the park and play a game of cards or chess and seem absolutely relaxed and happy with themselves and the world. So I think this is really a bit of a rift in the national character maybe, or in the national fabric. You have this frenzy for money, which actually the people don't need. They could be perfectly satisfied without it. It's my impression.
The Azerbaijanis as a people are really very open and friendly, and most important, they're very courteous. You can talk to anyone in the streets, even the taxi drivers. You go downtown Baku, you go to the restaurants, and even government officials. They are very friendly and very open and very honest.
I made a number of friends over there, whether they have any official business with me or not, but they are very good friends. The best thing in Azeri is once they are friends forever. They feel like to call you at home, they feel like to show their hospitality at home.
Yeah, definitely. People are very friendly. One of my observations is Azeris generally are very warm people, and unlike many other countries, when you meet someone, you get very close very quickly. That doesn't happen in many countries, and even in my country, Turkey. People are usually a little bit distant, and it takes some time to warm up and get closer. It's not the case in Azerbaijan, just the opposite.
I guess being in a warmer climate make people more open, more relaxed.
I found those areas to be very open, very welcoming, very hospitable, in a very informal and kind way. So I would definitely not consider Azerbaijan as radically Islamic, and I think it's a liberal country. I think the way people live, dress, behave is very open, very liberal, and people in Azerbaijan are tolerant. People are very relaxed about religion, not indifferent, but relaxed and tolerant.
And when I was there, I never felt that people approach other people on the basis of their religious views. No discrimination.
I can say almost without exception, on a one-on-one level, let's put drivers in a different category. On a one-on-one level, people are very pleasant to deal with.
Some transformation that goes on within Azeri when you put him behind the steering wheel and into city traffic.
Well, if you talk to me about traffic in Baku, I would say it was really crazy.
The traffic in Baku is really apocalyptic. It's horrible. It's the worst traffic I've seen ever, I think. Okay, I haven't been to places like Manila or Bangkok, which have a very bad reputation, but I think Baku comes quite close.
It's an interesting thing because in Baku, the only traffic signal I've ever seen obeyed is the traffic light itself. The simple red light is most always respected. After which, when it turns green, nothing is respected. Nothing. And you are putting your life at grave risk to run across the street, whether the light's in your favor or not.
But somehow people get used to it, and with all the aggressive behavior still, for me, people always slow down in the last minute, and I've never seen any serious accidents occur. I'm sure there are, but it's more a thing of culture than of character, I would suppose.
I attribute that to the Asian influence in Azerbaijan. There's a give and take. And in Baku, it's often more sharp than it is in other places, with yelling, tooting of horns, hand gestures, and the like. I didn't see that in Southeast Asia, but I did see that same give and take between drivers.
There are cities where there are rules which are not written, which are not told, but just practiced, right? The Azeri traffic or driving has its own rules.
In general, compared to other Asian countries, such as maybe perhaps Bangkok or Manila or Jakarta or India, in New Delhi, traffic in Baku is much more orderly than in these countries. So it's less chaotic.
I think one of the best things about Baku is that the big corniche, the big promenade along the bay, has an underpass where you can safely cross without having to do it on the surface. I think Baku is a city that is quite walkable, and it's not unusual to be a pedestrian there. Lots of people walk, so there's space for pedestrians. There's a lot of parks in the city. There's this pedestrian zone right through the commercial heart of the city. Then there's this beautiful promenade along the bay, which is nice for walking, which is great for jogging in the morning.
I've been so many times over there. I've been hanging around even midnight, even early morning. I haven't seen any problem. And then one more thing is people are very courteous. I haven't seen, for the last 10 years I've been there, so many times, say 25 times, 26 times I've been there. I have not seen anybody is fighting with anyone. Anybody is even abusing anyone.
I had no worries about going out late. I mean, I used to walk at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning.
The hotels are very safe. They are Western hotels with modern amenities, cable, satellite TV, mini bars.
See, I generally stay in the hotel like Hyatt and Park Inn, and I did stay in Radisson also.
My favorite being a little boutique hotel in the old city, which is close to the Maiden Tower with a very nice roof terrace with a view over the port and the bay and the old city. It has this familiar, friendly atmosphere that I quite like about Baku.